Well, hello, and this is episode 20 titled I'm Not Very Good at Remembering Names, the disconfirmation question. My wife always comes up with better ideas, and she forgot what she was telling me one night, but I wasn't listening anyway. I'm not very good at remembering names, never have been, and at this stage in the game, probably never will. Someone once told me that the reason one is not very good at remembering names is because you're reading the person and taking stock of them, observing their soul, their essence, whatever. It sounds good and I'll take it as a compliment, but I really don't believe it. I tend to be a bit, or perhaps more than a bit, erratic and fuzzy brained, so I think that's the better answer. However, on a more subtle level, I do sense when I meet someone for the first time, I am reading the person and also attempting to make the person feel comfortable and present myself as non threatening, warm, sincere, and real. Then, right after all this posturing, I then go and forget their name in a matter of minutes. It never fails. Once someone affirms that you understand exactly what he means, immediately ask a disconfirmation question. I read this somewhere. It takes the following form. Under what circumstances could that be incorrect? This enables a fruitful conversation around even profound disagreements. It's an interesting concept in confronting some of these idiotic right wing assholes, but I don't think I could keep my cool once they start vomiting some of their usual one dimensional bullshit. I know I got a little carried away there, but that's what happens. Of course, I don't enjoy complimenting my wife when she has come up with a fantastic idea that I didn't think of, and most likely wouldn't have, but I still do it. I consider myself honorable and equitable. More commonly, she tends to come up with better ideas more often than I do. And to repeat, I don't enjoy that from the perspective of the male ego, but you got to be honest with yourself and with the world. A good idea is a good idea, and you have to recognize that and it could turn into a great idea. And I'm not sure when the last time I came up with a good idea was. Not one of my strengths, I suppose, but I can live with it. So then why did I write this down? Oh, God. I have to leave my wife alone. We mustn't forget how difficult it is to pursue a personal, gratifying life in the midst of personal, social, or political upheaval and chaos. It's not easy. We're the fortunate ones. Mary was telling me one night that she couldn't remember what she was telling me and that she just couldn't recall. And so I replied, "It's okay, Mary. I wasn't listening to you anyways." A year ago or so, I saw a program that aired a story about MIT. And one of the sub stories was about a young man who was accepted into the institute for his idea and one of those eerie moments just before you lose consciousness and lapse into actual sleep. He was the first person to be accepted into MIT for this idea. However, he is not the first person to observe this phenomena. And yes, I'm certain that I'm not the first one either, but I've been fascinated with this sensation for decades. It is a mesmerizing experience. And what makes it so is that when you catch the moment it occurs, and this moment is a flash, an instant, it passes almost instantaneously. And in that moment, you witness a crystalline yet elusively insightful moment, and almost too hard to define and explain. Unfortunately, it vanishes quite rapidly, and whenever I've experienced it, I usually attempt to recapture it, but can't. And I don't seem to have this experience now at my age. It was much more common in my younger years. In the transition, you or I realize that this flash moment of your floating consciousness is quite compelling and revealing, but it's quite challenging to hold on to, and I certainly don't know why. Stepping back into this river seems almost impossible for some reason. All of a sudden, it's gone. But within that unforgettable moment, your mind seems incredibly focused and perceptive. And I don't know if anybody out there has experienced this. It's almost as if the subconscious state has answers to questions that your conscious mind doesn't. I wish we could freeze that moment in time because it seems to have an important story to tell. And maybe the young man at MIT will be able to figure this enchanting occurrence out. I hope he does. And after viewing Hitsville, the making of Motown, on HBO, I'm convinced that what the cast of Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson and Holland Dozier Holland and Stevie Wonder and the Temptations and Marvin Gaye, etc., What they manufactured was indelible and simply one of the most masterful contributions to the world of music. The musical talent that resulted from their work was nothing short of remarkable, not to mention the almost incomprehensible combination of quality and quantity of music that resulted from their efforts. Being a music nut for basically all of my life and living through the entire history of Motown, I watched a 2 hour documentary with a smile on my face. It was a joyful experience and brought back so many memories of their musical work. The amount of incredible, unique music that came from Motown is not to be ignored. And if for some reason you have not experienced it, I suggest you do. As my wife's hearing loss has become more pronounced, and so has mine, she finally went to an audio specialist to look into the possibility of obtaining a hearing aid. The sticker shock was profound. She was told that it would cost $6,000 and that the batteries have to be changed every week or so. And I told her that at that price, it cleared up whatever hearing issue I had really quickly. If the specialist told me $6,000, I would have told him my hearing is fine. I heard that price loud and clear, and I don't think I have a hearing issue anymore. And whatever they had to say after that would have only made my hearing even better. Problem solved, and that price tag cleared up all my audio deficiencies, all the audio deficiencies I had. Thanks, Doc. I'm fine now. Around 5 or 6 years ago, our group of researchers and analysts were tasked to come up with a name to define our group of about 10 employees. Until then, we were just known as the research group, but being part of the new age of corporate America, that name was definitively unacceptable. So our director instructed us to label our team, and we would come up with as many ideas as we could. It was very simple for me. Being the oldest member in the team and the least sober and earnest, I modeled my one contribution with the movie Analyze This, since we were analysts. That was my only contribution, and when I forwarded over a scene from the movie to the people that I felt would enjoy it, they loved it. And yes, my offering was rejected by our director, and she gave a faint smile and a decisive meeting on my choice. Fortunately, she was a good egg with a sense of humor. And lastly, for episode 20, as I'm writing this snippet on New Year's Eve of 2019, a coworker asked me what I thought of the past decade, and I responded quickly with, some of it was good, but just not as much of the kind of it sucked, especially the 2016. Let me say that again. Some of it was good, but much of it kind of sucked, especially the 2016 presidential election. And I'll stop here. See you soon.